So for the past couple years, I have been taking notes on this, a regular notebook with a pen or a pencil. And that might seem strange for a tech-focused YouTube channel, but what I found out when I got into the pandemic and got consistently working from home and having a lot of virtual meetings is that I really struggled to remember what I need to do by using digital apps. I was a heavy user of OneNote. I also used Microsoft To Do, which used to be Wunderlist, and I used that to take my to-do list and to take my notes. And I still use both of those applications for different things. But I found that for my day-to-day work, I was struggling to remember what I needed to complete for that week, and then also it just felt odd typing on the computer and taking notes while I was on a video conference. And I generally heavily use video, right? It just felt like I was communicating to the person on the other side that I wasn't paying attention to them, even if I was actually just taking notes down or updating my to-do list so I didn't forget anything. And so I started using a pen and pencil, and there's lots of studies as well that show, writing things with your hands helps you remember things, and I found that it did. It really helped me remember things, even if I didn't need to reference it, it just kind of stuck in my brain a little bit more. But there's some obvious drawbacks to this. One of them being that we're now out of the pandemic and I do go into the office once a week or sometimes more. And if I forget my notebook at home, I sometimes sitting on my desk, it's hard for me to remember what's on my to-do list, or there may be notes there that I needed for a meeting I'm having in the office that I no longer have. So that's an obvious drawback to paper and pencil, and that's why we have these digital systems, right? And then also it's kind of bulky and heavy to carry around. You got to flip through it. There's no searching functionality. It's really hard to find things. So I wanted to get something that was a little bit more modern, but maybe not so far modern that I was going back to typing on my computer. So I started to get ads for the Remarkable 2. It's kind of a new hip device that everybody's getting it's an e-ink display that allows you to capture your notes via pen or pencil, right, via stylus actually, and it's very pared down. It's sleek and beautiful, kind of like an iPad, but it's really for taking notes, capturing notes. And as I did some more research, I realized it didn't necessarily have all the features I wanted. It was pared down, it was very rudimentary for a reason. And a lot of people liked that, and a lot of people wanted that. And I wanted something that was more full-featured, but I also didn't want something that was just a regular tablet, right, that had a bad writing experience or that I would be distracted by email and apps. And so what I ended up landing on was this. It's the BOOX Note Air2 Plus. And don't be surprised if you haven't heard of it. If you're not in the market for an e-ink tablet, you might not have stumbled across it. But in doing some research, watching some other YouTube videos on the topic, I found out that this was definitely a more full-featured device. It was built on top of Android. It has a lot of capabilities, such as the App Store if you want to install things, but it's also pared down, and it also has a great writing surface and e-ink display, all of the features I was looking for. This cost around $550, but I didn't just get the tablet. I also got the cover for the book to protect it. I got the premium pen and then also the writing tips. And that's something that I found out in doing some research in this area, is that the pen tips actually do deteriorate like a pencil over time, or like pen ink. And so you do need to replace them. So I got a couple extra ones of those. Now, over the next couple weeks, I'm gonna use this device and I'll come back and share my experiences with you. Right now, I'm gonna unbox it because I haven't unboxed it yet and see what's in it and give you kind of my impressions of the unboxing. I will tell you there's one thing that concerns me about this, and that is it's manufactured and made and the company is out of China. And for me, that is a little bit concerning, especially what's kind of going on geopolitically around what are they going to do and spy in on the device? Do I use my regular Google account to log into this? I don't really know. So we'll see. I might create a separate Google account to use this with, but I thought the device was good, and I read a lot of posts on Reddit around this topic and decided that it was worth the risk. So let's get to the unboxing, and then after the unboxing, you'll see me in a couple weeks when I talk to you about how the device has been going. Says Note Air2 Plus 10.3-inch e-ink tablet. Like a tablet, unlike any tablet. Information shows the 10.3-inch, backlit, stylus, touchscreen, Android 11, e-ink, both 2.4 and 5 gig wireless, has a microphone, has a speakerphone, a 3700 milliamp battery, and 5.8 millimeters thick. Now, one of the reasons I went with this Note Air2 Plus, one was the Google App Store built in, and also it had a larger battery life than the Note Air 2. So that was part of the reason why I went with this one versus the regular Note Air 2. If anybody was wondering what the differences were. All right, let's take it out here, put that to the side, see what else we have in here. And the power adapter, USB-C, thankfully. And then also, this is the stylus that comes with it. Now, I heard that this was kind of not that great, which is why I bought the bundle with the premium stylus, but let's take a look at it anyway. I will test it out and tell you that, you know, how I feel the differences are. So that's the tip that goes on that one. And it doesn't have the eraser, which is I think the main reason when I was doing the research. The main reason why I bought the other one is I wanted the ability to erase. I didn't want to have to go into menus to change it from eraser to not eraser and then erase with the tip. So that was one of the reasons why I did that. It has a nice heft to it. It's not too heavy, not too light. I think this area here is where you can put your hand. It has power button here, your USB-C charging slot. Would be kind of nice if that was on the bottom. Take a look at the back here. Let me turn it over. And this nice, beautiful green color. I love that color, and it's very glossy and shiny. All right, let's set that to the side real quick. Let's take a look at the case. This is the BOOX Smart Folding Stand Magnetic Protective Case. I think this one will kind of allow it to operate like a tablet. It's magnetic closure. I wonder how this goes in here. Oh, it magnetizes in. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Very nice. And then close it up. But pretty cool. Put that to the side. Okay, let's see what else we have here. So this is the premium pen. There we go. Okay. All right. It's nice weight to it. You can see it looks just a little bit more polished. Has this tip on the end here. Oh yeah. Even sounds like a pencil. Okay, let's take a look at the other one. I wonder if they're both magnetized. Let's see. Yeah, they're both magnetized to the side. Pretty strongly. Nice, it's good. And so this one has a little bit more like a pencil feel. This one has more of like a premium pen feel. This is definitely a lot lighter than this one. At least it feels like it in my hand. Let me switch it again. Yeah, this one feels a little bit more chintzy. I guess that'd be the way I'd describe it. Yeah, so I think, you know, hopefully this is an eraser. I think that's one of the reasons I bought it. I'm trying to remember back. All right, let's turn it on and see what it looks like. You can see that it's an e-ink display. I'm gonna go through the setup process. English, United States. We'll use network provided time. Auto sleep 5 minutes and activity shutdown 15 minutes. I'm a navigation bar person. On, okay, I think those settings are good for now. Left-handed mode. And please use the official BOOX stylus to tap the center point of the cross mark to calibrate the touchscreen. If there is an offset after calibration, you can reset it to store the details. Okay. I'm gonna try to do this very accurately. Setup is complete. Your BOOX is starting up. Okay. Turn on Wi-Fi. Okay, it's connected to Wi-Fi. Apps. So now you can see there's Play Store, Neo Browser. So there's some things I can do here. Let's just try to take some notes. Let's just add a notepad. Just write my name here. Oh yeah, that's good. Wow. I mean, it really does feel like you're writing on paper with pencil. I'm gonna try the other stylus here just to see if there's a big difference. Yeah, I think this one is a little bit scratchier actually, which is nice. Let's try erase. Okay. Oh yeah, push down and erase. So pretty cool. I mean, this is exactly what I bought it for. I can't sync yet, so I'm gonna see what the syncing options are yeah, I think this is going to be a really neat device. So I'll use it for the next couple weeks, and I'll come back and tell you how it worked out. Okay, so it's been a few months since I got the books, and I've had a chance to use it in a lot of settings, primarily work. And so I'm going to show you right now a little bit of the interface, the settings, the apps, the store, library, navigation, how I've used it. Now, obviously, I can't spend time showing you how I've been taking notes specifically in the area for work. A lot of the things that I put in there are not necessarily things that I want to be living on public consumption. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I organize it in a separate like sample notebook, but I'll also take you through all of the other things that I've been using. I've really been happy with this. This has been my daily driver for about 3 or 4 months now. So I've had a lot of good use of it to give you my impressions of switching from a notebook. So first, let me go through the interface a little bit, right? So I'm actually in a note here, so I'm going to go back out and go to home. Now, if you've used Android in the past, you're familiar with this kind of bottom option here for the home button, the back button. It's very familiar. You can also use gestures, but I'm not a gesture person, so I like to use the buttons at the bottom. When you first come in, you actually generally go to this library page. You can actually change that, and I've now switched that to notes, but when you start out, it goes there. You can see I have a couple PDFs that I'm reading, one on artificial intelligence, one is an output from a OneNote that I had on some notes for a talk that I was gonna do, or that I did rather. And then you can see the rest of the stuff here. You have store, notes, storage, apps, and settings, okay? So let me take you into settings very quickly. In here, you can change your languages, date, time, power, networks, all of the things you expect to see in the setting, calibrate your pen, system display, software, all of that stuff, gestures. I'm a lefty, so I've changed this into left-handed mode. The one thing I don't like is that when it starts up, it actually starts up and the kind of base screen before it starts up is right-handed, so you have to always flip it over when I start it up, but it works. I'm a lefty and it's been working really great in left-handed mode. So I'm not gonna spend time digging into the settings here. You see I've connected my Onyx account. That's kind of their cloud service that I can use to transfer files back and forth if I need to, but the settings are there. Apps, I've not really done a ton of apps. You can see I have a few things here that I've downloaded from the App Store. Now, one of the benefits of the Note Plus 2 is that it came with the Google Play Store already set up and configured. You just had to do a couple things. On some of the older versions, it required side loading and some of the stuff that if you're familiar with Android, you can do. It's a very flexible platform, but I didn't want to have to go through that. So I ended up going with the Note Plus 2, which came with that. So now if I go to store, this store specifically, this is the Onyx or the Note Plus store, right? So this isn't the Google Play Store. So if you want to go to Google Play Store, you actually have to go to apps, and then once you're there, then you can click on Play Store and go into Play Store. Now, I did set up a separate Google account for this. Once again, I think I mentioned earlier, this is a Chinese-based company that makes this. I trust it, I think it's good, but once again, I always just take an extra layer of precaution. And even though I do my work notes on here, most of the things are point in time and very specific and kind of obtuse. So it's not really that important. Of course, I don't think China is worried about me anyway. So anyway, that's the Play Store. I did have a separate account, but I installed a couple apps here, the Libby app, OneNote, the Bible app. Those are some of the things that I just put on here. I haven't done a bunch, and there's a distinct reason. I don't want to be distracted. The whole purpose of this device is that it's for note-taking, it's for reading. It is not to be distracted by apps. However, you may have that use case where you want an e-ink reader and you also want to do your email or maybe, build PowerPoint presentations or look at spreadsheets in Excel. I don't know. I don't know what else you might want to do on here, but for me, it's super focused on note-taking. So yeah, so those are the main areas, right? You have your settings, your apps, storage. This one I think has 64 gigs, so I've used about 27% of it now, so quite a bit more to go. I have a couple videos that are screen recordings like this. That's really taking up the bulk of the space. These notes, these PDFs are super tiny. I just can't imagine really using all of this space if you're just doing mainly note-taking or reading books. So those are the kind of overarching settings. If you want to know some more about that, you can kind of scroll down here. You have this control center where it'll give you options for how to do certain things, change the front lighting, take a screenshot, put it into do not disturb mode, so on and so forth. A lot of the features that you would see in an Android tablet are here, plus some things that are specific to this device itself. I'm gonna spend the bulk of the time actually in note-taking. I assume if you're here, you're probably interested in like, how did this really replace my notebook, and does it really work? And yeah, I think it does. You can see I have a few notebooks here. So these are notepads. So on this home screen, you can create separate notepads. And inside those notepads, you can have notebooks and pages, right? And so you can see my Microsoft one, by far the most used. I use it all the time, every single day. I have one for my side company. I have one for, that's just a sample, which I'm gonna take you through. And then I have one for like personal stuff where I actually keep notes for my videos and things of that nature. So that's where I was earlier when I was in here. I was in YouTube, and I was in a notebook called Video Notes. And here I have some separate pages. So you see here, I'm on this page 3. So if you go up here, you'll see page 3, and then those are the notes I have. So I've gone over the interface. I'll just do a little check here. Settings, App Store, Library, Navigation. Now I'm gonna talk to you about notes, and then I'll finally finish off with battery life. So let me go back into the sample notebook, and then I will spend some time really talking you through how the note-taking experience is on this device. So go back one more, and let me go into sample. Okay, so for me, how I use this for work, I'm just gonna tell you how I set this up for work. I generally create a new notebook at the beginning of each week where I keep my notes and my to-do items for that week. That helps me just kind of encapsulate a week's work. And if something's bubbling from one week to the next, I will go back to the previous week. I'll grab, copy, and paste over some of the to-do items that I missed over, and I'll show you some of that. I also keep notes on maybe people that I'm talking to, stakeholders that I'm working with, projects that I'm working on, so on and so forth. So this is kind of how I stay organized at work. If I was to click into, for instance, week of 409 here, you can see here I just put a couple things: review emails, write strategy paper, schedule one-on-one with Winston. This is how I capture my to-do items. I always just do like a little box, and then I just write a couple things, right? I mean, it's fairly simple. Now up top here, you can see there are different pens, and they write different ways. That's more of like a pencil. This is more of like a highlighter, I think. Actually, no, it looks a little different. Here's an undo button here. There are different pens that you can use. I personally always use the same one. So, which is this one at 1.5 point. And you can actually change the pen color. So what's interesting is when you take these notebooks out, like to your computer, if you were to send it, there's actually, if you write it in like red, it will show up in red inside like your computer, which can do color. These, obviously, if I select red, it's just gonna look the same here, but it would show up red on my PC. So I think that's a really neat feature. You can see here that I'm using the premium pen. This came, the BOOX Plus comes with the regular pen, which does not have an eraser on it. So if you wanted to do an eraser, you say you were to write something and then you wanted to erase it, normally you'd have to click on the eraser and do this. I feel like that kills the flow for me of writing. And so there was a bundle that I bought that came with this, as you saw at the top, and the eraser has been really clutch because you can just kind of write and then erase as you go. And I would say that it's pretty responsive. Every now and then the eraser gets, it doesn't work and I have to kind of like push and it'll finally get there. And the nice thing too is you can change how it erases. So I have it erase like a full stroke. So if I'm doing this, right, if I do this, it'll just erase that stroke. I don't have to kind of like erase little pieces at a time. If you're doing something more fine-tuned, like you're drawing, you probably wouldn't want to use that eraser style. You'd want it to be a little bit more precise, but for me, this is how I like to do it. Okay, so this is how I take my notes on a weekly basis. To add pages here, you can either click this Page Plus button, or you can go just next, right? And you can go next and it'll just add a new page, which is pretty awesome. If you want to see all your pages, you click there. You can jump around from page to page. You want to copy and paste, they have a nice lasso feature. I can grab this, just go around it here. It'll grab it. Oops, try that again. I'm running close to the edge here. Once you have it lassoed, you can go up here and, for instance, copy or paste. So if I wanted to copy this and then I want to take it to another page or another notebook, I can go and do that. Let me go back out, actually. I'll go to another notebook here to show you that experience. So say I wanted to move that from this week to the following week, I can now go into there, and it might look like, hey, how do I get this thing to paste? You just go back into lasso, and now you can paste it and it'll be there on the clipboard. There are your notes, which is pretty neat, right? And I've done that a lot if I wanted to move to-do list items from one week to the next. The other thing you'll see here is there's different canvases. So you can change the size of the canvas. There's also a way that you can change the templates. So this is something they added in a recent update. You have all of these amazing templates that you can use. I generally use the horizontal line 24, but there are lots of different ones. There's a specific to-do list template that you could use, which I might use if I was only doing to-do lists in a notepad, but I do to-do lists and then sometimes I also do notes. And there's multiple pages of this under work. There's some that are more common, like if you wanted to do a grid for some reason, maybe you were doing charts or homework. There's other here, which are a little bit fancier, and then custom. The only thing I found is you can only use one type of canvas per notebook. I would love to be able to use a cover on the top and then the subsequent pages be maybe like, college rule or whatever, but once you change it, it changes it for all the pages. So that's one that's kind of a little bit of a downside, in my opinion. I haven't used this AI feature. I'm going to skip that for now. Those are just kind of the generic features. Sync is going to sync up to the Onyx Cloud so you can go and grab the notes. You have the option to zoom. I've only used zoom when I'm doing reading PDF, so I can kind of zoom in. And then obviously you can use shapes and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I've been using the Notepad and the notebooks on a weekly basis. Another great thing, one of the benefits is that it does have search. So let me go into here and look at a word, let's say mentor, okay? So I'm gonna go in here and then I'm gonna click the search and it's gonna search through handwriting. You can have it search handwriting, title, text, tags. And I'm gonna type in mentor and have it search through my notes. Now, what I've found is this is useful, but as the notebook gets bigger, like my work notebook, it becomes much harder for it to search through. So it's not as useful as I thought it would be. It does work, but you see it's gonna go like through each notebook here, trying to search for that handwriting, and it has to do handwriting analysis or OCR on everything. I don't know if they're indexing your handwriting as they go. I think that would be a better approach to this, is as you're writing, it does and stores an index of those words so that when it searches, it just quickly searches through the index and the pointer to the page rather than searching through the notebooks itself. But it actually is searching through the notebooks. However, it does a really good job of finding out where I put it. Like both in Stephanie and James, I wrote this Find a Technical Mentor, right? These sample notebooks. And if you click into one of them, you see like, I barely was able to read that word when I was going through and looking at it a second ago, and it picked it up. My handwriting's not great, as you can see, and it picked that up. So as far as being able to find something that's there that's being handwritten, it will do it. The only downside is if I was to search through my Microsoft notebook, which has 30 or 40 notepads, plus, each of them have 6 or 7 pages, to find the word mentor, it might take like 5 or 6 minutes. At that point, I might as well just flip through and try to think about what week I was at. So hopefully they improve that search experience and maybe shift it a little bit as well. So let me get out of search here. So to create a notepad, I'll take you through that creation experience. You click this Create Notepad button. When it pops up, you can give it a name. So we'll give it a name of test here. So it has a keyboard that will come up for that. And then you can select one of the templates. So if I wanted to, I could maybe select this to-do list template and then click Create. And there you go, it creates the notepad, and then I can start typing in, checking off maybe things I didn't get done, so on and so forth. So that's it. There are multiple layers as well. So if you wanted to, you can add layers. This is something that's really helpful for especially folks that are drawing or coloring or painting or whatever you might be doing on this. You can have those multiple layers if you're doing design, so that way you can erase something or work on a layer without affecting the underlying layer. I don't find that as useful for notes, but it's certainly there for folks who are doing drawing. You can lock a layer, you can turn a layer off from view, all of that stuff. And it actually has the template as a layer itself. So all of that's pretty cool. If I wanted to just flip off that, you would see I can no longer see that template layer, turn it back on, it's there. So I love that template, that layered approach, excuse me, that allows me to do this. And I could go and, delete this layer altogether. Actually, it's only one layer. So let me add a new layer, and then let me write onto layer 2. Excuse me. Right, and now if I come back up to layers and I wanted to delete that layer, you notice it doesn't affect the underlying layer. Really neat feature, and I think that's super useful. You can also insert things like recording your voice, images, attachments. You can link to other notes or files, link to websites. So that's able to be done. I've used that actually before to put an image into one of my notes. And then you have this AI feature. You have this text box. So if you wanted to do typed information, you can do that as well. So that's there as another option. And then that's basically the bulk of it. There's this little pop out as well, which gives you some additional menu items. You can customize this little ribbon. I almost never use it, to be honest with you. So, but it's there in case you need it. Now, let me go back out and just quickly talk about battery life. So I am gonna so I have 37% battery life here. I never think about charging this. Like, occasionally I charge it like once every 2 to 3 weeks. Like I don't even remember when I charge it. Occasionally I just plug it into USB-C, let it charge for like an hour, and then I unplug it. Like you just don't think about it. It's unbelievable. It feels like it goes a month before I ever charge. So from a battery life perspective, it is absolutely rock solid, fantastic. And this Note Plus Air 2, I always get the name wrong. It came with a larger battery than the previous one. I can't imagine the previous one struggled with battery life either. Like this is my least worry about this device. So highly recommend it from that perspective as well. The one other thing I want to touch on really quickly is the pen, and specifically the pen tip. Now, the original pen tips that came with this were really good and responsive. They gave you a lot of resistance. I actually they sent me a pack of 5 extra pen tips, but they came all bent and broken, and I took too long to get back to them to get a replacement. So I ended up buying some off of Amazon, and these just aren't as good. Like it feels like you're not writing on an e-ink tablet that has that resistance. It feels like you're writing more on like a Surface tablet, right, with a glossy screen. There's not that same level of resistance. So I think I might go back to the original pen tips that came with this rather than buying some of the ones off Amazon. They're a little bit more expensive. I think it's like 30 bucks for like 5 or so, I think was the price. And these were like, 12 for 20. So this is a lot cheaper, but then you don't get that same level of responsiveness. Now, it still writes. Like, it's not like it's laggy. I mean, you can see how quick it goes and writes on there. So it's responsive, but you don't feel the resistance like you would if you're writing pencil on paper. And that's one of the benefits of these tablets, is it really does feel like a pencil writing experience. So that's the only thing that I would say is kind of a downside of the pen. Other than that, it's been working really great. Now, are there any other drawbacks? I personally haven't found any. Like, maybe there are, but for me and my use case, I haven't found any drawbacks to what I do. Like, I use this literally every single day to manage and organize my work life. It helps me stay grounded in what I'm trying to do. I think one of the reasons I switched to a notebook years ago was to get away from having everything on a screen where it's so easy to be distracted by a Teams message here, an email here, needing to do something over here, a PowerPoint I'm working on there. Now I can always go back and say, okay, what am I supposed to be working on, right? If I get distracted, I can look down and say, okay, I need to go and write that strategy paper, and I can kind of lock in. And then when I get distracted again, oh, you know what, I haven't done that. I need to go and do that. And it's also really satisfying to just go down your checklist and go, oh yeah, I got that done. Okay, I got this one done. It just feels good to be able to check that stuff off the list. So for my use case, this has been really helpful. It's also really helpful as I take notes to be able to go back and review those notes. I create little notebooks for projects, like I said before, so I know if I get to that next meeting, I can go back and see the notes that I took in the previous meeting. So as a way for it to help me stay organized in my work, I think it's been really fantastic. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that look at the BOOX Note Air 2 Plus. Like I said, I've been using it now for 3 to 4 months as my replacement for my regular Notepad, and it's really been a fantastic replacement. It came with all of the features that I was looking for, and it's worked almost flawlessly, right? For $500, you would hope that it really does that, but I've been really surprised at how little there is to complain about with this device. So if you're in the market for an e-ink tablet, I would highly recommend this one. In addition, I think if you're trying to figure out how do I organize my work life, how do I stay on task, I would say having just a regular notepad or something like this is way better than kind of taking the notes on the computer if you're somebody that's, like I am, easily distracted by all of the other things we have in a virtual work environment. There's always a notification about something that's going on at work, whether it's a Teams message, an email, or something else we have to do. And so it's nice to be grounded when you need to get back on task. And it's also good to just handwrite those notes down as you're in a meeting to just kind of lock in your brain what you're talking about and then have a place for a point of reference later on, right? I just find that if I'm typing notes on a screen, it's just another opportunity for me to be distracted by some other notification versus writing it down. So I hope that was helpful for you to kind of see how I organize my work life and how this device is helping me do that. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I love to hear from you all. Happy to answer questions. I literally try to answer every single comment and question that is put on the channel. As always, we appreciate every like, every subscribe. It helps the algorithm to know that you find this content interesting. It helps us as content creators. So please hit the like button. If you don't mind, hit the subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.